All right, guys. So a lot of news going on in the Utah Utes world today. This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest. Pretty wild day. So Chad Bumphis is going to be leaving. He's the wide receiver coach. He's heading to Mississippi State. We'll talk about what that means, what he brought to the table, and what we might be losing or maybe gaining with him leaving the program. We're also going to talk about Micah Bernard is entering the transfer portal. So kind of the same thing. We'll talk about what we're losing, what we're gaining there. We're going to start with Chad Bumphis first. So, Chad Bumphis, a guy that did a lot for this program. Real good recruiter, a really friendly guy, a guy that a lot of people seem to talk highly of. He seems like a guy that is valuable to this program and people aren't excited to see him go. But when I look at the data, what the real raw data tells us, I'm not sure if it's really a bad thing. I wouldn't be sure. I mean, I have my ear to the program, right? I talk about Utah football all the time. You guys comment on my videos, so I feel like I know what Utah fans are most frustrated with about this offense, and it's this, right? It's wide receivers. Now, I'm not going to make any claims, and I think this is where Coach Bumphis went to school, right? Like this is where he's from. This could just be his dream job, but I also think there's a reason to question maybe this is for the best. Maybe Utah said like, "Hey, we're going to move on from you as a wide receiver coach." I don't know any inside knowledge on that, but let's be real, guys. The receiver room hasn't been fantastic recently. We'll go ahead and dive in here. Chad Bumphis has been here for a few years, and we'll dive in. We'll talk about the different guys he brought in and how they've turned out. Obviously, a guy like Devon Vele, a good pickup that he's developed quite a bit. But outside of that, I mean, how much is there so far? Maybe this is a really good thing for this program to get a new wide receivers coach in and maybe, shake things up a little bit. Someone that wants to come in and prove themselves and bring some playmaking wide receivers along with them. Let's go ahead and look at the receivers that Coach Bumphis has been working with and how they've been doing so far. So, just to be clear, Chad Bumphis did spend a year as a graduate assistant for Utah in 2018, but that's not quite at the level of being a wide receivers coach. So, we're going to look at the past 2 years while Chad Bumphis was actually at Utah as the wide receiver coach. He came in early 2021, and then he's just leaving as of today. So, definitely a decent sample size to look at to get an idea of what this guy has done. So first, let's check out 2022 when we look at how the receivers performed this year. So his best receiver is Devon Vele, 5 touchdowns, 695 yards, 55 catches, right? Devon Vele, definitely a very good receiver. I would say though, when I look at that, I think, like I mentioned earlier, Utah fans have kind of been starved for a real number one receiver, right? Like 1,000 yard season type of guy, a big time guy, a Pac-12 playmaker, right? And I don't think Devon Bailey is quite at that level. So for him to be your number one guy, like the best receiver you have to show, I think you'd like more, if that makes sense. It's not to say Devon Bailey is not very good. I think if like Devon Bailey was your number two receiver on your resume, that would look really good. But I think you'd like a little more from your main guy, if that makes sense. Then we got Money Parks, right? A very good receiver, but when we really break it down, guys, 26 catches for 414 yards, 2 touchdowns. Money Parks definitely came on towards the end of the season, and I like Money Parks. I have high expectations, but when we're talking about examining a wide receiver coach's resume, these being your number one and number two receivers combining for less than 1,200 yards, barely over 1,100 yards, and only 7 touchdowns. That's not great. And then your number three, Jalen Dixon, similar to Money Parks number wise. And Solomon Enos, who's a guy that saw the field a lot, wasn't exactly a playmaker for Utah. So, and this, don't get me wrong, guys. Chad Bumphis, I think his number one calling card is as a recruiter. From what I understand, he is a very good recruiter. But I think when you actually look at the results on the field, this might not be a bad thing for Utah. So next, let's go ahead and check out 2021, right? Let's see, how did that go for Chad Bumphis, right? He has a 2-season sample size. We can't judge him just off the 1 year. And this year, he had Britton Covey as his number one receiver. 52 catches, 514 yards, 3 touchdowns. I got to be honest, again, even more underwhelming this year. Your number one guy in your resume, 514 yards. And I think a lot of people know, I think the world of Britton Covey, but let's be real, right? That's not like what a premier wide receiver coach wants on his resume is a guy with 514 yards. Now, there's a lot of variables as I'm going through this. I don't want you guys to feel like I'm bashing him. I'm just keeping it real. Could we do better than Coach Bumphis? Probably, yeah. Honestly, I'm not. I don't like. Like I said, a very good recruiter, but when it comes to actual coaching, I mean, Devon Bailey was the second guy with 389. So his top two receivers this year didn't even combine, or in 2021, didn't even combine for 1,000 yards. Barely combined for 900. So I'm just saying here, guys, I think there's definitely opportunity. And I think it is sad to see Coach Bumphis go because he was such a good recruiter and had great relationships. But I believe this is a good thing for Utah. Overall, I think Coach Bumphis leaving is a good thing in the fact that we are going to have the opportunity to get a really good wide receiver coach in here and hopefully start to take that next step and getting playmaker wide receivers. Because being a great recruiter as a coach is a really important skill, but developing the people that you bring as recruits is the number one most important thing. So I think that'll be something we can look forward to, guys. I am excited to see who we bring in as a wide receiver coach. I'm really excited to see who it is. It's got me pretty pumped. So we'll see. And now let's go ahead and move on to talking about Micah Bernard. All right, guys. Micah Bernard is heading out of Utah. Definitely a really talented player, guys. If you guys are familiar with the Utah program and you consider yourself a fan of Utah football, you probably consider yourself a Micah Bernard fan, right? It feels like he is a hardworking, disciplined, level-headed individual that brings a lot to this team, right? He really does. Good player, a dual threat back, and I've always referred to Micah Bernard as Mr. Dependable. We take a look at these stats here, guys. Past 2 years, we've got some great numbers. 533 rushing yards this year, 523 rushing yards the year before, averaging 5.5 yards per carry between those 2 years. And in total, 6 touchdowns in those 2 seasons. So he was never the premier back for Utah, but he was always right at that number 2, number 3 running back spot, and a really good guy that always felt like if we ever needed him to be our number 1 guy, it wouldn't be an issue. He's really good. So, we also take a look at his receiving numbers. Very good there too. So over the past 2 seasons, 565 yards, very good numbers. Really good player and 3 receiving touchdowns over the past 2 seasons. So you got to be happy with what Micah Bernard has brought to this program. Now, why is Micah Bernard leaving? I think this is the silver lining, guys. Why is he leaving, right? He's a very good player. Very sad to see him go. Honestly, like Micah Bernard, no matter what you're getting in replace of him, you're sad to see him go. But the reason he's leaving is probably a good thing for Utah. So you look at this running back room, guys. Jaquindon Jackson looks like a stud. If you guys watch Jaquindon Jackson over that last 6-game stretch of the Utah season, you guys know what I'm talking about. He looks dangerous. He looks deadly. We've also got Jalen Glover, 4-star running back from last year's recruiting class, and is looking to develop into a playmaker. We also have 3 guys, 3 4-star running backs coming in for the 23 recruiting class. 3 4-star running backs, guys. So this running back room is full of animals. It really is like a bunch of straight monsters, guys. And so, why is Micah Bernard leaving? I think it's pretty clear. I've heard some other reasons that are under the surface as well, but I think for me, the number one thing that sticks out is that the competition in this room is going to be so fierce. I wouldn't even be shocked. I mean, I've heard the coaches did not want him to leave, but I mean, you're not really gonna you're gonna miss him, obviously, but I mean, stat wise, production wise, dude, Dijon Stanley, right? Um, John Randall Jr., uh, Mike Mitchell, right? Oh man, and then we got Jalen Glover and Jaquindon Jackson, just a room of studs, bro. This is gonna be a mean group of running backs that is going some when you mesh that much talent together, guys, something great is coming out of it, right? I don't know if Chris Curry's coming back. I don't have an update on that, but those five are going to mesh into something great. Something, the two or three that become the stars from that group are going to be great running backs. And it's clear why Micah Bernard left. It's a good thing for Utah. Not that he's leaving, but why he's leaving is because of all the talent in that room. Now, where is Micah Bernard going? That's a great question, right? I'd love for you guys, in the comments below, comment, where do you guys think Micah Bernard's going? Do you guys think he's going to USC? I've seen some rumors about that. That doesn't seem outside the ballpark. His old running back coach is there. On top of that, it's a really good program. Like, let's be real, it's a really good program in the same conference, not too far from where he is now. He's from Long Beach, California. I mean, a lot's adding up there. But also a bunch of other. I wouldn't be surprised to see him stick around in the Pac-12. Maybe try to give Utah a punch in the mouth next year. But either way, sad to see him go. But make sure you guys like the video, comment down below, where do you think Micah Bernard's going, and make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. I'm going to be pumping out Utah Utes football content all year round, and I love building this community, and I love getting to make these videos for you guys. I hope you guys show the support by liking, commenting, and subscribing. Outside of that, I'm out of here. Comment down below any questions you guys have that you think I didn't answer. One other thing that I think would be fun to comment below would be who do you guys think the new wide receiver coach is? I really have no idea who it's going to be, but maybe people have some suspicions. I would love to hear you guys comment those down below and, get to know what you guys are thinking. All right, but I'm out. Like, comment, subscribe. Go Utes.